Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And whether it's good morning or good afternoon in your part of the world, we're really thrilled to have you with us today. My name is Ghali Al Maedi, and I'll be the presenter and moderator of today's session. I'm the senior marketing specialist here at Mozn. Today's session is in partnership with iSecureMind, and today's session is titled Securing the Financial Ecosystem, Bridging AML and Cybersecurity. It's all about exploring how these two essential functions can work hand in hand to protect institutions in a rapidly evolving threat landscape. So we've got some fantastic speakers lined up from both iSecureMind and Mozn, and we'll be covering a range of topics, starting with why AML and cybersecurity work stronger together, the importance of AML and cybersecurity integration, how to build an integrated AML cyber framework, and lastly, we will cover best practices and success stories in AML. We will also have a Q&A session towards the end, so feel free to share your questions, your thoughts in the Q&A box at any time during the session, and we'll try to get to as many as we can towards the end. So before we dive in, I'll now pass the microphone to Mohammed Shamsuddin to introduce himself, and then over to Garrett Becker for his intro as well. So Mohammed, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ghalia. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Mohammed Shams, Regional Director. I have 15 plus years in cybersecurity across the region in multiple business models, start from customer, partner, distributor, and vendor as well. I'm speaking today on behalf of iSecureMind, where we collaborate with organizations across the region to strengthen their cyber resilience, especially in high regulated sectors like financial service. Today, I'm gonna share insights with our strategic vendor, Mozn. We will share insight on how the financial institution can strengthen fraud detection by aligning AML and cybersecurity. I want to touch something that's becoming increasingly obvious, but not fully addressed: the intersection between AML and cybersecurity. Financial crime and cybercrime are no longer separate. They are deeply intertwined. The session, we will explore how bridging AML and cybersecurity is no longer best practice. It's a necessity to secure the financial ecosystem together.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Mohammed, and very nice to meet you. I cannot wait to dive deeper into the discussion with you. So now, Garrett, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Mozn. You're muted, Garrett. Sorry.
Thank you.
Happens to the best of us.
Thank you, Thalia.
Yes.
And I just
Go ahead.
good morning and good afternoon and good evening to the audience. Thank you for joining this session. A little bit about myself. I'm director of data science at Mozn Focal. Focal itself is basically a software solution for AML compliance and fraud detection. And myself and my team, we've got the pleasure of doing the fun stuff, the AI stuff in the background to make fraud and AML, for our clients easier. My background, I've been doing this, building risk models for about 30 years.
Wow.
Started off in insurance, and then after that, I've also worked extensively with financial companies, second-tier finance, and then obviously first-tier banks. Recently, or not recently now, it's been 2 years since I've been since I joined Mozn, and yeah, I've been, as I said, developing risk solutions for our clients on both the fraud and AML side. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Garrett, and it's always a pleasure having you with us in our webinars. So, all right, Mohammed, I'm going to kickstart that discussion with you. Can you tell us, how does AML and cybersecurity traditionally operate individually and how they work together?
Yeah, sure. Historically, there are two domains have operated in silos. On one side, AML teams focus on regulator compliance, monitoring for a suspicious transaction, ensuring KYC and CTF protocols are in place. On the other side, cybersecurity teams deal with threats like malware, phishing, unauthorized access, and ransomware. Each has its own tools, alerts, response mechanism, and unfortunately, very overlap. Silos no longer work today, but in today's digital financial ecosystem, the separation is no longer sustainable. We were seeing fraud campaigns where cyber intrusion are just the first step, followed by money laundering to clear the stolen assets. So attackers use compromised accounts, fake identities, and across borders digital payments to hide their tracks. And if AML and cyber teams aren't sharing data, signals are missed and get threat actors win. So collaboration nowadays, it's no longer an option. They have to work together to complement each other.
Yes, clear. Thanks, Mohammed. That was a great breakdown of how AML and cybersecurity have traditionally operated individually and how they intersect. It really help us understand more and sets the stage for this conversation. So building on that, I have a follow-up question for you. Why is it no longer effective to manage AML and cybersecurity separately in today's landscape? And I believe you've touched on that a little bit in your answer. So, Mohammed, are you with me?
Yeah.
So, can you just touch base a little bit on why is it no longer effective to manage anti-money laundering and cybersecurity separately in today's landscape?
Yeah, as I mentioned, when both of the teams are working separately, so there is no alignment between each other because cyber AML teams, they are only focused on compliance. They are their traditional and legacy way to monitor only the suspicious transaction. But when we combine, and the other hand, the cyber teams, they are looking for the in the SOC centers, they are looking for the alerts, the logs, and correlation of the logs. It's only they don't combine both of them together. But when they combine the both AML and cyber activities together, the picture will be more clear.
Okay.
So yeah, so separation in silo, it's no longer works nowadays, and when we see the rise of the attackers, it became more sophisticated. So it's a must to work together to have the full picture and to complement each other. Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks, Mohammed. That sets such a solid foundation for our discussion today. So, Garrett, keeping that integration theme in mind, how can AI help detect and prevent new fraud schemes faster and more accurately than traditional systems, especially when anti-money laundering and cybersecurity teams are now working together?
Thank you, Khalia. And I just want to follow up on Mohammed said something really important, and that's the perpetrators, the people that are responsible for financial crimes and for money laundering. They are basically using all the tools available to them, and we've got to basically do the same. And therefore, the first thing that as a data scientist that you want to see is as much data as possible. So when we basically build our systems and our models to detect, illicit behavior, we try to cast that data net as wide as possible. And that's where data sets like specifically the cybersecurity data sets become hugely beneficial for us to build systems that the end user will find usable and will solve a lot of their issues. Historically, and just to sort of reiterate what Mohammed said, historically, AML compliance teams have struggled in that they've had fragmented data systems, their data was out of date. There was really no integration beyond their little world to the broader data sets that are available in organizations. But today we see a different, different approach. We see that key decision makers in AML compliance understands the importance of data integration and data-driven solutions, and that obviously makes our lives a lot easier. If your end user requires more data, then you don't have to convince them. Yes, we've got to bring in cybersecurity data as well. The advantages for organizations is that it will allow for more automation in AML processes, and there's human intervention, specifically the low complexity cases. With more data, we can make determinations a lot easier and quicker whether a case needs human attention or not. We also need to basically provide the right tools for AML teams and investigators to make the right decision and make that decision quickly. And these tools basically is automated processes that not just that aggregate the data, best practices when it comes to data aggregation, data management, the actual tools that the AI that sits behind the systems that look at the data and then make the decisions or the recommendations for the human investigations. And then also combined with this is a strategy that covers both data and artificial intelligence. These are key components. And if organizations don't align their data and AI strategies to their compliance requirements, then obviously there's a mismatch and the technology and the data is not used sufficiently. Looking at the actual data sets that cybersecurity makes available to us, first off, I'm not going to go into the importance of these. I'll just quickly list the data sets. But first off, network traffic analysis. So this helps us to detect and flag suspicious behaviors and transactional patterns. Device location data. So whether it's GPS data, cell-based location data, or even data location data that we derive from IP data. This tells us where the event or the login is coming from, and this could potentially tell us a lot whether it is just a normal account access or if there's maybe something suspicious or illicit happening in the background. IP data, this allows us to identify malicious domains, also hosted services used by criminals. So we almost can start identifying suspicious, or it enforces the idea of suspicious behavior because of association. So we've seen people use this location previously, or these IP addresses or hosting providers. And if you do the same, then it also raises the question mark, why are we using, why is the account holder using the same potentially malicious, service providers? We can add cybersecurity data to incident report, incident response to speed up AML workflows. Also log files. Log files typically are very difficult to interpret because it's a huge amount of data. But again, with the right data management and AI tools, we can actually really extract interesting insights and pointers from the log files. And then basically the last one is basically your security information and event management reports should really also be part of the of the AML process. So we only, by adding that cybersecurity component, we can create a lot more certainty and a lot more efficiencies within the AML process. And then lastly, I just want to sort of, from a data science perspective, where it really helps us a lot is that one of the main problem from a data science perspective when it comes to AML compliance is that historically we don't deal with certainties, we deal with suspicions. And that makes, building models and building systems that can help the compliance teams difficult, because if you just deal with suspicions, then, you start off on an uncertain sort of grounding already. By adding cybersecurity data assets to our models, we can actually create more certainty. And this allows us to actually look at historic cases and say that, yes, we are quite comfortable that this was really a case of money laundering, or yes, this was not a case, this was just a normal transaction. That allows us to label our data, and then through labeled data, we can build better models. Better models obviously results into less false positives, more higher accuracy and detection rates. So that's for us really the big advantage that we've seen historically as a data science team. By accessing cybersecurity data, is it gives us more certainty, and that allows us to build far better predictive models. And in the end of the day, hopefully we can help the client as well.
That's amazing and great points, Garrett. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really like how you highlighted the different types of data and how it all connects together. It's really clear that connecting these functions and these different types of data doesn't just improve detection, it actually strengthens the entire fraud prevention framework for any financial institution. So now that we've seen the value of integration, let's talk a little bit about how to actually make it happen. Mohammed, what are the foundational elements of an effective AML cybersecurity integration framework, and what does a solid starting point look like?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Actually, to build an integrated AML cybersecurity framework, organization need to focus on three key areas. First one is shared data. Secondly is common tools. And third one, which is a very important point, which is collaborative teams. When it comes to shared data, we have to unify financial and cyber threats information to get a complete view of the risk. Second point, which is common tools, we have to use a platform that supports both AML and cybersecurity teams for monitoring and investigation, so they can predict what is going on. Third one, which is I consider it's the most important one because it's more about technical and physical ones, which is collaborative teams. The cultures create across functions teams with aligned goals. It must be happen. It gives clear governance together. This approach breaks down silos and enable faster and a more effective way. So organization looking for integrating framework AML and cybersecurity should start by adapting technology like SIM solutions, like centralized data lake that brings financial and cyber threats data together. A practical approach is to begin with a small approach, with small pilots, such as correlating transaction monitoring with cyber events, and test the workflows automation to build cross-team collaboration. This gives us a clear picture together to build the framework, combine AML and cyber security together.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think that's really clear and helpful. I like the way that you explain the technical approach of how we can reach the integration. And I'm with you when you said it's not always easy, but it's essential for staying ahead of today's threats and frauds and schemes. So thank you for that. Garrett, do you have anything to add to that question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I do. And I just want to sort of again emphasize some of the points that Mohammed has made. That's really and yes, we need to and he mentioned the data lake. So one of the things that we did at Focal, when I started initially, is that we realized that we've got this segmented view of data. So our data sits in silos, and I think most organizations struggle with the same thing. So we created what we call a data analytic platform, where we were able to combine all the different data sets, create the logic so that you can add, AML case data and then link appropriate signals from cybersecurity. But it is a slow process. It's not that in a month time you can have a complete solution. It's an organic process that you need to start. The sooner the better, but it will build on itself, and eventually you get to a point where you've got full integration and you've got this ability to what I can call data intelligence. You've got a full view of all the data sets in the organization. You know how to link them, and you know the importance of each data point in the process, in the AML process. So definitely that's important. Having a can-do attitude, and we can do it. I think a lot of companies look at their data and then they say, oh no, there's too many legacy issues here. It's going to be too much effort. I think we live in a data world, a data-centric world. And it will become more and more important to have a proper data strategy, right framework, data quality. All of those things need to be there for you to make the right decisions. If they are not in place, it's that's sort of the adage of garbage in, garbage out. So it is a process, but the quicker that that organizations recognize the importance of data and start developing those processes and the strategies, the better long term it will be for the organization.
I would add also to Grace that needs a lot of effort and needs clear picture from and a solid and decision from the top management, because collaborative teams, it's not something it's very easy. It's you need vision and convince to the both team. At the end, it's the goal to combine and to get the interest for the organization. So this something needs some effort for the management for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it's very clear that integration isn't just about plugging in systems and doing all of the technical work. I believe that it's about aligning people and aligning all of the processes and all of the technology around one shared goal. So having that common risk language, clear governance, and a unified data strategy makes all the difference in the world. So right now, I feel like personally that we've covered a lot of ground so far, from strategy to tech. So let's bring it down to real world experiences for a moment. So as we wrap up our discussion, I want to hear from both of you, Garrett and Mohammed. Let's start from your experience. What's one key lesson or one insight that others should keep in mind when they're trying to bring anti-money laundering or cybersecurity together, and cybersecurity together, sorry. So maybe a success story that you'd like to share or a challenge that turned into an opportunity. And I'm going to start with you, Mohammed.
Okay. So when we talk about our previous case study for both in action, let me share a quick example from our recent iSecureMind engagement. It was for a tier 1 bank. I noticed repeated VPN logins from multiple geographics into dormant business accounts, not alarming enough on the cyber side alone. So from SOC perspective, they didn't have the enough alerting. But when we combined with AML and we got AML insights and transaction historical, such unusual large transfer for foreign shell entities give us a clear picture emerged. It was a mule account facilitating the laundering for cybercrime proceeds. On their own, neither the cyber security indicators nor the AML red flags would have triggered escalation, but together uncover the true scope of the threat itself. So this was a real case happened for us. So what we learned, the alignment is no longer optional. Cyber and AML needs to be strategic partners, not just parallel departments. That means integrated threat detection that includes behavior and financial indicators. Secondly, joint investigation together between AML teams and cybersecurity teams. It must happen, and share playbooks together. And the most important, a culture of collaboration, supported by leadership and technology. This is my experience, and this is the lesson learned, and we have to disperse this with the financial service leaders.
Absolutely. And I believe that, that story really ties together everything that we've discussed so far. And if there is one takeaway from this whole discussion, is that the integration is now not optional. It's a requirement between cybersecurity and AML. It's not an option anymore. So Garrett, I would love to hear from you. Any success stories, any real life examples, challenges, anything like that?
Thank you. I hope you've got a lot of time because I've got a lot of examples here. Yeah, certainly. So first off, I just want to sort of, give the audience a sort of idea of the process that we followed at Focal specifically in integrating our data. So yes, we found that we had to, a priority was to integrate our data. We had fragmented data systems and we didn't have this full 360-degree view on a client. And this even means there's a big overlap also between AML and fraud, and a lot of organizations don't still sort of treat these two entities as differently. But from a data perspective, the overlap is really strong. And cyber data obviously is useful on both sides. So that was the first thing that we did is to build a data lake or data platform where we could actually combine all these data sets. The second process was to understand the data. And one quick way to basically understand data is to build machine learning models, because they give you the ability to understand if data is predictive or not. So we can then focus on that data sets that we see are offering value. And then thirdly is basically to slowly introduce these AIs into AML. AML compliance is very much still human driven. But there must be a slow adoption. We don't want to change the world overnight. A slow adoption where we start complementing the human systems, and then eventually looking at where we can optimize and make it more efficient. The role of AI is never there to replace, but it's to complement. And I think that is sort of a key area that we want to that we believe that we should focus on. But top management, within the banks and within the financial organizations need to understand that AML compliance cannot survive without data and AI going forward. So that's just sort of our the experience that we had within Focal. If we start looking at the benefits, and I've got a couple of case studies for our clients. So we basically offered two types of solutions. The one is Focal, which is basically software as a service solution, which is cloud deployable, and this allows smaller and medium source clients to really tap into our processes, our workflows, our risk assessments, whether it is expert-based or machine learning-based. And then we've got a second solution, which is called Focal Crime Analytics. It's more for larger enterprise clients where we do on-premise solutions, but basically we provide the same thing. The key development or innovations that we're doing at the moment related to specifically AML is around what we call agentic AI. And agentic AI is actually having an AI agent that is partnering with your investigators, and they do all the heavy lifting, to make the life of the investigator easy by giving them the right data, the right type of recommendations, and providing context within, what the business policies or regulation is. This AI agent uses multiple different technologies, but it's really like having a research assistant. You can ask them questions about the case, etc. So by combining all of these, the hard work that goes into data preparation and getting the data into the right form, building the models, and then providing an end solution. I can also share some really interesting statistics on a recent engagement that we've just finished, where we see that this first off data integration, combining data integration, adding cybersecurity data, and then building these risk models, we've seen a 53% reduction in fraud-related cases, a 45% reduction in money muling, 67% reduction in false positives, and then the biggest advantage is 80% reduction in case investigation time. So
those are amazing stats, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. Those are great numbers. I love hearing that.
The proof is definitely it's not something that happens overnight. It takes a long time to get to a point where you can have these improvements in place, but it starts with integrating your data and then a stepwise approach from there on building the right models, making sure that you understand on how the models can complement your existing processes. We're not there to to reinvent the wheel or change on how things need to be done. What we need to do is use AI in a complementary fashion, and then the results would be there. These are in many cases where we've seen that data-driven solutions are really effective in not just saving money for clients, but making better decisions. Also, client and user experience is improved. You're not basically pestering normal account holders with a lot of information because your systems are creating alerts because of so the systems are also there to make your client experience a lot better, and that you just focus on those cases that really need attention.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Good. Thank you so much for sharing. Mohammed, any last thoughts?
Sorry?
Anything to add? Any last thoughts that you'd love to share?
Lastly, as we both all of us agree that there no longer separation or any silos between AML and cyber security operation. Both have to be aligned together to give us a clear picture and to help us to have a secure financial ecosystem. And again, sorry to I'm repeating this. Collaboration for both teams has to happen. So it will be beneficial for both party, and at the end, the organization it will win. Working together separately, it will not help any teams at the end. So I'm emphasize of this. It must be aligned together to get
Yes.
beneficial for the organization.
Absolutely agree with you, Mohammed. Thank you so much, Mohammed and Gerrit, for your thoughts today. Amazing insights throughout the discussion. So right now, I would love to hear from our audience and everyone who's been tuning in today. If you haven't already, please go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to as many as we can before our time runs out. So right now, I'm going to go ahead and read a few questions that we've received so far. And Gerrit, Mohammed, feel free to answer whichever question that you would like. So the first question has been submitted by Muna, and it reads: How do you see AI fundamentally transforming the way we approach AML and cybersecurity in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yes,
absolutely. Go ahead.
Go ahead. And I think I did sort of cover this before, and I think it starts off with, and Mohammed mentioned this also, create a data platform where you can integrate your data, and then it becomes a process with that in analyzing the data, understanding how does it fit into the AML picture and how useful it is. So definitely data platform is important, but as I said, also as an organization, you need to adopt a data and AI strategy with a high level understanding from your top executives on how data and AI will complement and improve your organization. You know, that's the first critical step. So get a data strategy and AI strategy in place, and then basically start deploying, you know, a platform where you can start mixing the data, and the rest is sort of will come organically from that.
Yeah, I can add something here also, if you allow me. Recently, all the SIM solutions started to use the data heavily to get insights as reactive and reactive approaches. So using the data, it's not that for the current point of time to get an alert or to get an unusual activities. It's using the data to predict what is going to happen tomorrow. So Gen AI, it became a part of the current SIM solutions. And most of the AML platforms nowadays, like Focal, they are going to integrate with the SOC tools, so to be a part of the SOC operation.
Yes.
And this is increasing by the time, yeah.
Of course. Thank you so much, Gerrit Mohammed. I hope that answers your question, Muna. Next, we have another question by Muna. Thank you so much, Muna, for those amazing questions.
She is active.
Absolutely. Love to see it. Thank you so much, Muna. So the second question reads: How can financial institutions balance customer experience with the increasing demands of AML and cybersecurity compliance? Anyone would like to answer?
Yeah, let me quick off this one. I've been burning to answer this question. Thank you, Mona, for the good. No, I think I think we're seeing specifically from regulators are clamping down on organizations that don't have proper AML processes in place. So there's obviously then a natural sort of overreaction. Let's become too compliant, and that obviously creates also strain on your end user, the client sort of experience basically. And that's where we believe that, and I think in the figures that we showed before, using the right data and AI together, we can first off make the client experience a lot easier, in that a lot of the stuff, onboarding stuff, can happen virtually and online. And you don't want to bother 99% of your clients because they're just normal people that want to have a bank account to transact. And again, data is able to identify that better in the models. So we know this is just a normal client. if alerts are raised, we've got also the ability to score those alerts, looking at the onboarding information and subsequent client information. How close or how far is this from really illicit behavior? So we can reduce that false positive rate. So alerts that are being, so as I said, like for instance, the agentic AI project that we're working on, we want to be able to close level 1 alerts using an AI agent, specifically when it becomes obvious that these are not complex issues. They're just simply rules or alerts being triggered because, of the requirement to have the alerts in place. So, yeah, the key point I want to say is that we can actually work very closely. AML requirements can be developed in such a way that it doesn't make the client experience worse. It actually makes the client experience better by deploying these tools. So there's less false positives, less intrusive investigations. You want to focus on those cases that are really closer to crime, financial crimes or illicit behaviors. And then on those ones you want to focus, and you don't want to disrupt just a normal person that's got an account that just wants to use that account to transact with.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Garrett. Mohammed, would you like to add anything to that?
No, he covered everything.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so
Garrett.
much,
Thank you.
Garrett.
Yeah, but I want to emphasize this also.
Right.
This is one of the benefit of aligning AML and cyber together, the reducing the false positive. And SOC teams, they understand what I mean here, because they have noise of the false positive alerts.
Yes, makes sense. Okay, so this upcoming question by Amr, I believe that I can answer. So this is my first time answering a question on a webinar. Can you please share the recording from when we conclude the session? So yes, a recording will be available of today's discussion, and it will be shared via email. So thank you. Thank you, Amr, for that question. Next is a question submitted by Bilal Saeed, and it reads, what are the biggest blind spot financial institutions face when trying to integrate AML with cybersecurity strategies? Garrett, you want to take the lead on this one as well?
Okay, yeah, no, let me do that.
Go ahead.
I think, yeah, no, I'm going to steal a little bit of some of the stuff that Mohammed said before.
Yes.
I think the two groups are completely, has not really integrated in the past. So, you don't have that sort of normal collaboration and sort of understanding, this is my domain, this is what I do, and this is. So I think that's one of the things that traditionally these two silos have not really been working together. So that's the biggest blind spot or challenge. This is the blind spot one. So certainly, yes, that historically these two sort of areas have not been working together. And as such, that's a blind spot in itself, because you've got a very valuable data set on the one side, but the other team, that the compliance teams, are not aware of this and how that can basically, help them. So I think that is the biggest step for me.
Absolutely. Mohammed, do you have anything that would like to add?
Yeah. In my lesson, I have shared already, as I mentioned, there was alert from AML teams, but when they combine both sides, cyber and AML, they found that dormant business account, which it cannot be discovered by AML team, but this is discovered by cybersecurity team. But when they combine both together, they found that there is a transaction already happened using that account. So they merge both of them and they combine it. So they got the clear picture together. So if each one working in silos, they will not get this result. So it's very important, as we mentioned, and as the title of this session is the alignment. It's a must. It's no longer an option.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you, Mohammed. And thank you both for answering the question. I hope, Bilal, I hope that answers your question, and thank you for asking. So next is, if you were to list 3 challenges for the adoption of AI and AML, and other functional domains, what would they be? And this question was submitted by Arif Sultan Sheikh. Thank you so much, Arif.
And let me let me have a go at this, and then I'll hand over to Mohammed.
Yeah. So three challenges.
Yeah, I think
three challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, I think again, looking at sort of AI adoption globally, what is sort of the main reasons? One is this perception that it is a black box, and definitely that the AI industry has not really helped a lot to sort of alleviate this. So yes, explainability and understandability of these models are critical, especially when it comes to compliance, where you have to actually have a very strong audit trail and a decision trail that needs to be attached to cases. So you can't just escalate the case. You actually need to have,
of course,
substantive supportive information for that. So definitely adoption has been altered to some extent by a lack of explainability and a lack of trust. We are working on specifically using Gen AI to make an AI more human understandable. So using AI to make it more relatable to humans. I think that is one area. I think that because it's seen as a regulatory function that deals very much with uncertainty, data, and external data sets like cybersecurity, sort of people have not really realized the value that lies into that. But as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, in that one thing that helped us a lot is moving from that dealing with uncertainties to certainties, where we know that this is not just a suspicious case, this is actually a case of money laundering. So yes, certainly incorporating more data into your AML decision framework gives you more certainties, and with more certainties, you can build better solutions.
Totally makes sense to me. So thank you, Garrett. Mohammed, do you have anything to share to that question?
Yeah, actually, I can add to Garrett also selecting the right tools, which can support both sides, is something is very important and challenge. Second, collaborative between the teams, also something has to be in the culture of the organization itself. That it takes some decision and some time to adapt this one. Because at the end, integrating the AML and cybersecurity, it's something needs a lot of inputs here. So these 2 points, I believe it's we can add to Garrett what he's already mentioned.
Amazing. Thank you so much to both of you for answering Arif's question. Arif, I hope that answers the question as well. So next, we have a question by Mohammed Al-Anizi. Since AML systems primarily function as screening and alert tools, where do cybersecurity risks come into play? Are there more advanced systems involved that could introduce higher cybersecurity vulnerabilities?
Maybe I should just again go for this one first. So
okay,
I think
go ahead.
we sort of did touch on this, and for me, the biggest advantage is that adding cybersecurity data to the AML data pool provides us or allows us more certainty, and that's the main thing. From a vulnerability perspective, it's not like fraud detection or fraud prevention where we want to close, and stop illicit behavior. Here we want to identify and report. So that yes, I don't think from a vulnerability perspective it's that important, but certainly from our perspective, in that it helped us to create a lot more certainty about which cases are money laundering and which are just suspicious cases.
Thank you.
I would love to hear Mohammed's.
Yeah, I believe at this point, fraud usually it's close to practical stuff for transaction. There is also fraud from cyber perspective. It's all about awareness for the end user, but it's totally different. But when it comes to ML fraud, I believe it's more practical, related to the activities that happen, the suspicious activities, the transactions. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, both of you. Mohammed, thank you for sharing the question, and hope that answers your question. So next is a question by Hamid. How do banks securely handle sensitive data when using AI, given the high computing power needed to run models locally?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and it's something
an amazing question. Thank you so much, Hamid. We love it.
So sensitive data is data sensitivity, and then also the new regulation in Saudi as well as in, globally, is really there to safeguard personal data assets. So when we build and develop our systems, we need to be very much aware of it. What we do a lot basically is we basically limit the access to sensitive data only when it's critical for processing. So for instance, our work is more model development. So we do the sort of the research and the building before the time. And in most cases, we don't need sensitive data for that. And when we do need sensitive data, we rely more on synthetic data. So we understand the actual true patterns. And then what we do is we create synthetic data sets to train the models. So certainly from a development perspective, yes, you need to be aware of what sensitive data fields are needed and is there any sort of mitigation to remove your dependency on it. When it comes to real time, when the actual systems are live, yes, for instance, using Gen AI and large language and large reasoning models, do you want to expose your data to these systems? And my answer and recommendation would be no. What we do for our clients here is that we do on-prem deployments of these technologies, and we ring fence so the data does not leave your environment. You're not sharing personal or sensitive data outside of the organization. It is more expensive, not necessarily. I think from an expense perspective, it's very similar to using cloud as to deploy cloud or LLM types of infrastructures in your own on-premise. But yes, you do need GPUs and stuff like that. So to really make these AI sort of give them the compute that they need. Yeah. So from a cost perspective, yes, I think it's similar. But from a deployment and from a resource perspective, yes, you'll need skilled people to be able to deploy these advanced AI systems on-prem.
Thank you so much, Garrett. So I'll move on to the next question. And thank you again.
I need, sorry,
Oh,
I need to add
I'm so
something
sorry,
here.
Mohammed. Go ahead,
No
please.
problem. No problem. When it comes to sensitive data, which is the data privacy of any organization, especially for financial organization. Once we define the sensitive data, we have to do the what it called the strategy for protecting their data. Start with classify the data, then monitor the data, and set some procedure and policies to protect the data. Where is it? It transit, it's on cloud or on-prem. In the data in use, it has to be encrypted from both sides, source and destination, and also in motion. So all this processing of the data has to be monitored. It has to have a right policy for protecting the data. This it gives us a complete picture of what it called the SPM data security posture management for the sensitive data.
Thank you, both of you, and thanks, Hamid. Great question. Next is a question submitted by Ahmed. Does the application of AI in anti-money laundering and sanctions screening differ between digital banks and traditional banks in terms of technology implementation? Garrett, you want to go ahead?
No, this is a difficult question. To be honest, I only build the models at the back end. I don't really understand, if that in-depth view of traditional versus neobanks or digital banks. I think from a regulatory perspective, the requirements are the same, so I don't really see why they would implement it differently. I think digital banks are potentially in a better position because they are digital, so their data assets are, they don't have a lot of legacy issues. They have got usually better integrated environments and stuff like that. So I think digital banks are probably better positioned to implement, a lot of the things that we've been discussed before today on the cybersecurity data and obviously the AIs. So that's sort of unfortunately, I don't know exactly from
that's okay.
a policy perspective how they,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mohammed. Would you like to add something?
I believe AML it's complementary part or component for the banking system. So there is no differentiation between both of them. But AML complementary component for the banking system itself.
Okay. Thank you, both of you, and thank you, Ahmed, for asking the question. The last question that we have here is submitted by Yazan, and it reads, how can AML and cybersecurity teams in financial institutions share threat intelligence effectively without violating data privacy or regulatory rules? Who wants to lead the answering for this question?
Okay, let me quickly just give my part. So I think there's a very important concept when it comes to data privacy that sort of overrides privacy, and that's called legitimate interest. So within an organization, to protect the interest of the account holders and the organization, the integration of data is critical. So data privacy becomes a problem when you start sharing information outside of institutions, or you start using data within an institution for non-essential, services.
Of course.
Cybersecurity obviously is an essential service. So I think basically the end objective of both AML and cybersecurity is the same thing, and that's to stop illicit behavior. So I don't really see sharing of data within organizations to be contrary to regulation or privacy restrictions.
Mohammed, any thoughts?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to that point, cybersecurity, they are using the in SOC activities, they are using the metadata. They don't use the actual data. So they don't touch the actual data itself, but they are using the metadata. If there is any IPs, there is any accounts, it's not related to the sensitive data itself. So the integration, it does not touch the actual data on sensitive data, the only metadata.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gareth and Mohammed, for answering Yazan's question, and thank you, Yazan, for sharing. So I believe that this brings us to the last question from the Q&A section. I just want to take a moment and thank you, both of you, Mohammed Shams and Gareth Becker, for speaking today. And a huge thank you goes to everyone who joined us. We hope that you're leaving with some practical takeaways and clear point of view on how AML and cybersecurity can work better together in today's financial landscape. And the one key takeaway from today's session is that integration is a necessity. It's not an option. So until next time, take care. Thank you so much, everyone. And one last reminder that this session is recorded, and you can find the recording via the invite link, and it will be shared via email. I hope that everyone has a good day. Enjoy your day. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, Khaled.
Thank you so much.